Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of the Planet B podcast. Today, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the Climate Bathtub Model. Dr. Rao, we're back again.
Yes. Thank you for doing this. Yeah, this model is something that we introduced during COP26 in Glasgow. So in Glasgow, we had several press conferences, and during one of the press conferences, we introduced the Climate Bathtub Model. It's a realistic model for understanding how to solve climate change, right?
And that kind of ties into your quote that you started with. All models are wrong, but some are useful.
Correct, yeah. Because a model is trying to model reality. And in reality, everything is unique. Mm-hmm. Every leaf is unique, every grain of sand is unique, and every molecule is unique, right? But a model just lumps things together.
Right.
Yeah. But some models are useful, meaning they explain phenomena and they explain how to solve problems. And so in systems engineering, we use models to figure out how to solve problems. You start with a simple model, and then you can add nuances to it.
Right. Which is what you've done over your time of doing this research. You can see how it's evolved.
No, not only that. The Climate Bathtub Model, right now there are only two faucets in the model, right? There's one faucet pouring water into the bathtub from the fossil fuel engine, and then one faucet pouring water into the bathtub from the animal agriculture sector, right? Now, when you want to create nuances, you can separate the faucets as a CO2 faucet, a methane faucet, and nitrous oxide faucet, and so on. And you can then see which one can you turn off. When you add these nuances, it makes it possible for us to understand the solution space in more detail.
Right.
That's what I'm pointing out. So, but the initial model itself, I want people to first accept that. Accept that is telling us to address animal agriculture first.
So for someone who's never seen the Climate Bathtub Model, could you give us just a high-level overview of what you're showing in this picture?
Yeah, basically imagine that all life on Earth is in the form of a baby and is stuck in a bathtub that's filling up with water. That water represents the greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere. So the water is filling up through two faucets. One is from our burning machine, which is the fossil fuel engine, and one is from the killing machine, which is the animal agriculture engine. And they are the two main sources of greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. Assume half of it is coming from the burning machine, half of it is coming from the killing machine. And this is based on paper that we talked about in the last chapter. Okay, so it's half and half. And then there is a drain to the bathtub, which is clogged up. Okay? And that drains into a vegan reforestation tank, we call it. So that tank has a certain capacity. So it can hold, some amount of water. So that represents the amount of carbon that can be sequestered, or CO2 that can be sequestered in regenerating forests. Right? So there's a correspondence between every aspect of the model and reality. Okay? And then there is an overhead tank in the bathtub. And that overhead tank is controlled by the burning machine faucet. So if we turn off the burning machine faucet, it opens the overhead tank and lets some amount of water fall into the bathtub. Now that represents the cooling gases that we emit when we burn fossil fuels. And those cooling gases are very short-lived gases. So the cooling gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, ammonia, and so on and they come from burning fossil fuels. And they only stay in the atmosphere until the next rain brings it down. So they come down in the next rain.
Oh, wow.
You get a rain within 2 to 3 weeks, it'll come down, right? So wherever the rain happens, it comes down there. If those cooling gases disappear, you're going to experience the full heating of all the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And right now, we are not experiencing the full heating of the greenhouse gases. The cooling gases are masking 1/3 to half the heating. That's how powerful the cooling
1/3
gases.
to half.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's how powerful the cooling gases are. Because what the cooling gases do is that they interact with water vapor in the atmosphere and they create reflective surfaces. Okay, so they're reflecting sunlight back. So this is known as albedo, reflectivity of the earth. So they're impacting the reflectivity of the earth, the cooling gases. And when you remove the cooling gases, you don't have those molecules for water vapor to condense on and form sulfuric acid or whatever that has these white fumes. And instead, you're going to have the sunlight streaming right down and heating up the planet. So that's there in the model, the climate bathtub model. So now I say you're a plumber. You're not a scientist. You're a plumber. Okay? You have to turn off these faucets and you have to drain the bathtub. How would you do that? So you can actually ask a plumber to solve the problem. And the plumber will immediately tell you, shut down that killing machine faucet and unclog the drain of the bathtub. So that
Very simple.
Yeah. And then slowly dial down the burning machine faucet so that as the water from the overhead tank falls into the bathtub, the level of water in the bathtub does not go above the limit. Because if you turn it off right away, all the water in the overhead tank will fall into the bathtub and it will drown the baby.
Through doing these podcasts, I've come to understand how the fossil fuels have this cooling effect, but when you put it in this way, this context, it's very clear how fast we would lose that cooling effect simply by turning off the burning machine.
Right. Yeah, you will lose all the cooling effects right away.
We're talking just like the first rain. If the first rain would eliminate that cooling effect, so I mean that could literally be in one day or just as little as, like you mentioned, 2 weeks.
Right, 2 to 3 weeks. The estimate is that within 2 to 3 weeks, they will all come down if you don't emit anymore. And we did an inadvertent experiment on that in 2021. Okay, what we did in 2021 was the International Maritime Organization, which also has models for the cooling effects of sulfur dioxide and so on. And they estimated that the cooling above the ocean by burning fuel with sulfur in it was maybe 0.14 watts per square meter. That's all it's going to impact. It's very tiny. Okay, they estimate it will be very tiny. So they decreed that the sulfur content of the fuel that's burnt in ships on the open seas should be reduced to less than 1%, I think. Okay. Previously it was you can burn anything you want,
Right.
And people are burning all kinds of junk in the open seas because it's whatever is cheap, you burn it. And so by putting that restriction, and it made sense, right? Because you don't want a lot of acid rain falling on people. Okay, because that's what sulfur dioxide emissions does. Now, their model was assuming it was linear. X amount of SO2 would cause, say, Y amount of heating, and 2x amount of SO2 will cause 2y amount of heating. They were using a linear model.
All right.
It turned out it's not linear. Okay? It turned out that SO2 molecules over a pristine ocean are way more powerful than SO2 molecules over an already polluted land. The reduction in sulfur over the ocean caused a tremendous change in the reflectivity of the atmosphere above the ocean. So it caused a tremendous change in the cloud cover.
All right.
And this is the reason why 2023 and 2024 and 2025 are the hottest years in history.
Basically, because the ships changed the fuel that they were burning, which
Right.
wasn't emitting so much of those gases, it
Right.
didn't have the same cooling potential. So that actually made the ocean hotter.
It made the ocean hotter, and it made the overall temperature of the earth shoot up in 2023, 2024. Even though it started in 2021. The reason it took so many years is because the earth is so big and the ocean has so much inertia. It takes time for the earth to react to a change in heating. So you change the heating instantly, okay, within 2 to 3 weeks. In 2021, we already changed the heating. But the temperature increase takes 3 to 4 years to show 1/3 of that increase. So 1/3 of the increase we experienced in 2023, 2024, and so on, following that. And the next 1/3 will happen in 100 years. And the last 1/3 will happen in thousands of years.
Wow.
That's the kind of slow trajectory of the temperature increase that happens because of the inertia of the ocean. So we experienced the initial increase in temperature within 3 to 4 years. That was in 2023, 2024. And now it's going to go slowly. It's not like it's going to wait 100 years and then increase it by 1/3. It's going to keep going up, but slowly.
All right.
And then it'll keep going up for thousands of years, right? Slowly. But the good news there is, if we stop that, if we start reducing the heating on the planet, you don't have to experience the second 1/3 or the third 1/3. You don't have to experience that. You can bring it down.
Right.
So you can use the inertia of the ocean to our advantage. So we're not yet fully experiencing the true impact of what we have done.
Right.
Right? And that's true for all the heating that we have done. We haven't experienced all the heating that we have done. We only experienced, portions of it. And if we start cooling now, you don't have to experience the remaining. It'll start cooling.
Which goes into unclogging these pipes so the water
Right.
can flow into this vegan reforestation tank. So can you share a little bit more about what exactly this vegan reforestation tank is?
Vegan reforestation tank represents the forest that can come back if the world goes vegan and restores ecosystems on the land that gets freed up from animal agriculture. So we are estimating that you can free up 40% of the ice-free land area of the planet and return it back to nature, right? As well as the entire ocean can be returned back to nature. The ocean will also sequester. Now, I didn't even include that, in my calculations, in the vegan reforestation tank. So things could be better than what I'm saying in the model. Nature has this tremendous capacity to heal if we stop burning down forests and start helping. And the model only uses what I can guarantee is going to happen. It doesn't go beyond that. Yeah?
And then this pipe basically represents all of the meat that people are eating. So by stopping eating the animal meat, we clear that pipe, and then the water can flow right into the reforestation tank.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the when you stop eating animals, you free up the land, and that's the unclogging the pipe,
It's a
right?
wonderful visual. I mean, it's great because I've seen this visual before, but listening to you explain it solidifies it so much.
Yeah. Now, some people say, why did you put a baby there? Why don't you well, maybe put a cat or something? I don't know. Some life that represents all life on earth, right? Uh, for instance, some institutions vetoed or banned my talk because I used the baby in the picture. They say it'll offend people to know that they're drowning a baby.
What I feel like you're trying to highlight is a sense of urgency because
Yeah,
we all love our children. So that would be the one thing that we would picture to evoke an emotional response in all of us.
absolutely. And also, it is real for our children.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it if we just sit around doing nothing, I mean, we are going to drown, and we are all going to die, right?
So you must have quite evoked an emotional response in the team that banned you because obviously they must have felt something and that's why they felt that way.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think they were also looking for an excuse to ban it because they didn't want anyone to see this, yeah. Because it's not that complicated to understand, right? The bathtub model. In fact, I presented it to my colleagues who are systems engineers, from Stanford, and one of my colleagues said, "Sailesh, don't keep telling us. We know this. This is not so hard to understand. It's just that people don't want to do it. That's the problem we are facing. People don't want to do it." And I said, well, you have to know the consequences of not doing it, which is you're going to drown the baby. And once you acknowledge the consequences, then ask yourself, do you really want to do it or not?
Dr. Rao, what do you think it'll take for people to change that mindset where they'll finally have to give in to not only seeing the problem but addressing it as we know it's is through this vegan solution?
It takes puncturing of the ego. Say you are not in charge. You have not been in charge. Humans are not in charge, right? It's the human ego that needs to be punctured. Nature has always been in charge. Bow down to nature. Now, I have done this time and again because as an engineer, I bow down to nature all the time. If nature says your device is not working, it's not working. I can't say we'll pretend it's working. No, it's not working. And then you have to figure out how do you make it work. You have to come into alignment with nature to make it work. Okay, so engineers always say Mother Nature is the boss. We are just trying to figure out how to make it work within nature. And the same is true for the life support systems of the planet. We are not in charge. Nature is in charge. And nature has been using us. That's the story we need to tell. Okay? Nature has been using us, and nature is telling us, you're done with this phase. Let's move on.
Do you think it's the planet A systems that are inflating the ego and masking the true solution?
Absolutely. Planet A systems were built on Francis Bacon's original statement that he wanted to use science to control nature and shake her to her foundations. Well, I'm saying you shake nature to her foundations, you're going to be rattling the teeth in your own skulls. Right?
Yeah.
You're part of nature. So what do you mean you're shaking?
Gonna shake us right off the planet.
Right, right. So that's what this model is saying. You know what to do if you want to save the baby. Okay? Nature is showing us there is a way out. And that begins by acquiring humility.
Yeah.
And that is the spiritual and cultural transformation that we are going to be talking about in the next chapter.
I like that. That was a smooth teaser there.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Dr. Rao, is there any final words you'd like to share for episode 17, the Climate Bathtub Model?
Yeah, it's a simple model that any school children should be able to solve. And it will tell them what they need to shut down first. So please use this model. And you're welcome to change the baby to anything else, just redraw it. But represent something that everyone would want to save. Maybe a puppy,
Very good.
And please make this common knowledge, because I want everyone to understand that there is a way out and this is the way to do it. And it also shows that on the way out, there will be some difficulties. We are going to experience this level of heating for a while as we solve the problem.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Dr. Rao. And just to remind everyone, the Climate Bathtub Model image, Dr. Rao's books, the research papers are all found free at climatehealers.org. So we encourage our viewers to go and explore all of this on their own. And the books have all of the citations and evidence for where all the numbers are from. So it's great education for all of us. So thank you so much, Dr. Rao. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you join us once again for Chapter 18, where we go into the need for a spiritual and cultural transformation. Have a wonderful day, and Planet B signing out. Thank you.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where moral progress switched into high gear. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.